Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Eric Nichols. I wanted to do a video. I have a ton of you guys that are my vets that always ask me, and we always talk about disability rating, issues, getting declined, getting rejected, just giving up. Most of my vets I call when I talk about disability rating, they've either maybe worked with the VSO, had good luck, didn't have good luck, or just gave up. So I wanted to bring on my friend Dan Toporowych. And the benefit with Dan is we've been buddies for years. His son plays hockey, my son plays hockey, but he's a veteran. And every time you guys see my post, 90% of my post is me talking to Dan at the ice rink and just asking his advice, and he'll give me all kinds of advice. So me and Dan were talking not long ago. I was talking about some of my guys not getting approved for VA, and he's like, Eric, I did all my own. It took years, but I learned so much. So Dan, thank you so much for doing this. The other thing that's cool is I had said to Dan, you should try to get involved in helping guys. So he can talk more. I know he's applied to be an independent agent that can help. So not through the VSO, he can explain it different. But again, Dan, thanks for coming on. I'm just gonna let you kind of, I guess, take it away from day one of what you applied for, I guess, for disability, friends you've helped, what is typical that happens if they're declined or whatever, rejected like you were, what you did, anything you can give that would help my guys watching this video.
Sure.
And I know that once you're approved, I'm going to share your link so everyone can, use you. But he's not, you guys, he's not with the VA. He's not, anyone that's paid. He actually has a real job with a bomb sniffing dog and does some pretty cool stuff like that. But he's getting close to retiring and said, Eric, you know what, I'm going to retire, but I still want to do something. So he'll probably be joining forces with me, helping veterans with Medicare and things like that. So Dan, thank you. If you can give me your wisdom, dude, I would love it.
I'd love to, yeah. Hey, first, thank you, Eric, for, catering to the vets, because a lot of people don't, and they forget about them. And, you do a good thing with your insurance and stuff, helping them get some money back in their pocket. So first thing, you already said it. I'm just going to put this out there. I am not certified. I am not a VSO. I do not work for the VA. I literally have learned this system by doing my own. I help friends out. I give advice to people. But again, I have no legal basis. I'm not certified. I'm putting that out there. Although I did apply, and I'm waiting for that to come back and to become certified as an independent agent. Here's the difference. VSOs work for an NGO. So Disabled American Veterans, the DAV, any of those Veterans of Foreign Wars. A lot of state agencies have their own vet base, which are VSOs. So when you hear the term VSO, it is a veteran service officer that works for a non-NGO, a non-government organization, 501c3 type of company. Independent agents, you'll actually see a lot of commercials out there, attorneys, and there's people like me that apply. You have the same certification, you could do the same exact thing. However, we don't get compensated. The VSOs are paid for by the NGO and the state. Independent agents, some will charge you upfront fee, a very minimal fee. I'm not going to do that when I get certified, but you get a 20% kickback from the increase. An independent agent cannot charge you for an initial claim, but if we do increases or appeals, stuff like that, it's 20%. So nothing out of pocket, nothing up front. I just do it because I love it. I help friends out that were vets since I know the system. So,
and that's what I say. And this, Dan, for you guys watching, this isn't him pitching his thing. I just was the one, I think, as a friend that was like, Dan, you should get certified.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
Because it's crazy, dude. There's so many people that don't know. I don't know anything. I'm not a veteran, but every time I talk to you, I learn something else. So I love that you're doing this video just for my clients and veterans just to learn by watching a video.
And that's the thing. A lot of vets don't even understand the whole disability benefit process. And a lot of vets sit back, and I was one of those. It took me forever to file, where you think back like, oh, it should be for the guys that were in the war and lost a limb and all. You're right. It is there for that, but it's also there for everybody else. You're not taking money away from them. It's a scheduled pay. The money's there. It's sitting there. It's there for every veteran that has a disability, right? I talk to a lot of people that I know that are vets and they're like, I don't want to put in for it. Yeah, my hearing, yeah, this, yeah, that, but it's not as bad as something else. Give it to the other guys. They don't get any more money than anybody else. It's a scheduled rating. The taxes are there. You rated it. You enlisted, or you're an officer. You went in. You serve your country. If you got hurt and you have a disability, get it rated.
I agree. And you and I have talked about this because we've even said how I always tell you a lot of my vets like, it's not worth it. It's so minor. Maybe it's 10%. And I'm like, listen, I don't care. You were brave enough to enlist. Like, you still are entitled.
Right. And that 10% is 10%. Tax-free for the rest of your life. You're getting a check at 10%, I think now is about $150 a month, $156, something around there. Again, they're compensating you for what you gave them. That's what it's for.
I agree.
The benefits, so like if you're at 30% or higher and you get a VA home loan, you don't have to pay the funding fees. It's all free. So anything under 30%, you pay funding fees, a couple $1,000s to fund it. And another thing with VA loans, what people don't understand is the VA doesn't give you the loan. It's backed by the VA, meaning, God forbid you lose your house, you can't pay the payments, whatever. The VA purchases the home from the bank because they insure the bank that they'll take care of it. And then the VA actually sells them. You can ask your real estate agent or go online and you can find homes that are defaulted VA homes and purchase them. So there's a lot of benefits to it. There's a lot of benefits to be rated. That's a huge one if you're going to buy a home. It's 0%. You don't have PMI, so it's no money down. 30% and over. Under 30%, again, no PMI. You have to pay the funding fee, which is minimum, but it's not 20%. Your down payment isn't 20%. You have a zero down payment. A lot of times they can roll the funding fee into your loan. So there's a lot more benefits. Certain states, I'm out here in Arizona. My most expensive car, which isn't expensive, but license plates you got to pay for are expensive. The most expensive license plates are waived because I'm a disabled vet. You don't pay the fees. It's waived. For 100% disabled, it's waived.
And what rating are you? You're 100%, right?
I am. Yes, I'm at 100%. Correct.
You can tell us also even how long that took you because I think you and I talked at the rink where you're like, Eric, it was forever.
It was forever. And that's what taught me how to do this and talking to people and filling out the forms myself and doing, I have the fax number to the VA. So when I do them or I help my friends out, we fax it in. We don't snail mail it in. It literally gets put in that day into your file. It starts, charting time. So it takes a little while to get your benefit. It takes a little bit for the VA to work. Anybody that served in certain time periods in certain places in the world, they have what's called presumptives. So you can file for a presumptive if you fall in that category, and you could be rated. I think they're trying to rate them within 30 days of presumptive, 30 days to 90 days. There's different avenues. There's different things to do. But let me jump into it. So I'm just going to start for the vets listening right now. All of you should today file an intent to file. Go on va.gov, go on and file an intent to file right online. All that intent to file does is it locks in this month, which means you lock in, what are we in, March?
Yeah, April.
So if you file today an intent to file, and then we file disabilities, your back pay will be to April 1, 2026.
So all they need to do to get that, then you said, is just go to the va.gov. Probably in the search engine, they put intent to file.
Right.
There's probably a form.
Actually, va.gov is kind of simple now. You just put in benefits, disabilities, intent to file. You fill it out right online. You don't have to send anything in. And it locks in the date. And what it does, it'll lock in April 1st, 2026. So now you have 12 months to file. So you got 12 months to get everything put together, get your forms put together, get everything done. You got to get done. And then you file it. And after you file it, your effective date is April 1st, 2026.
My wife's sneaking in the background. Dan said hi.
So if you file it, and let's say it gets denied, you have 12 months to do something with that. And we'll get into that, what they're called, what to do with it. And like with me, it took me finally to go over the hump. It took me about 5 years. My back date was 5 years. So they back pay you 5 years. You'll get a check direct deposited for 5 years of payments from the date of your intent to file, as long as you keep it active.
So it's not worth quitting.
No.
Even though you feel it's endless.
The first thing I'm going to tell you is 90% of people get denied multiple times. You got to look at this as a job to get what you rate. You really do. There's work you're going to have to do on your own. Even if you use a VSO, even if you go somewhere else and use someone like that, there is work that the individual veteran has to do. And it's not a lot. It's just medical stuff, right? But you have to do it, and you got to be mindful of timelines. And that's the big thing, is the timelines. So intent to file gives you 12 months to file. Once you receive your either approval or denial, let's just say denials, you get a denial. You get 12 months from that denial to get more evidence, do what you have to do, refile, and that's called a supplemental claim. And that's where a lot of people get confused. Like, they'll let it lapse, or they'll try to refile it originally. And when you file it originally, then you lose the date. And then they'll tell you, well, these are the wrong papers, you're doing it wrong. So your first form is an intent to file, and then your initial application. If you have things in your medical record, you have in your VA medical record, in your military medical record that are in there, it's a very simple process to do your original file.
Well, I don't know how, Dan, on finding and maybe this is a dumb question, but
sure.
If these guys don't know will they know how to find their past medical files? I know normally a VSO will pull that, but can you find it on your own easy?
Here's the thing. Here's the simple part. You know what you did when you were in the military. You know when you went to the battalion aid station or went to medical or went to the hospital. You know if you had a surgery. You know if you had any of that kind of stuff. You know it. It should be in there. Some of the older vets, and I was there too, you didn't go to the aid station. You didn't do things. You sucked it up. You did it because you were weak. You were this, you were that. So for older veterans, it's a lot harder. The newer veterans now, they go to the aid station every day. They get things documented every day because they see what we've all went through. Even if it's not in your medical record from the VA, you can still get rated, right? There's ways to get rated.
And that's what I was going to ask, because a lot of as you know, we deal with seniors, and that's
right.
what a lot of them, they're older and they'll say, they can't find my records, or they,
right.
I went
right.
and they lost it. Maybe it was during a war or something.
Right. Yeah.
And that's always been a problem.
There's a big fire at the archives that destroyed records, literally just destroyed military records. There are avenues. And the thing is, you need to know what happened to you in service. And I could tell you what you need to do. So first things first, if something's in your record, you file it. If it gets denied, then we do what's a supplemental claim. We get why it's denied. What vets don't understand is when they send you the denial letter, the VA will write in your denial letter what you need. It's in your letter. You were denied, or you were rated at 10%. To get the next level of 20%, you need this. To get 30%, you need this. Your denial letter will literally tell you what you need. And then you will take that and you will go get that. So it'll tell you, there will be a denial letter that'll say, we checked this, we don't have this in there. For you to be rated at this percentage, you need A, B, C, D, and E. Great. We'll take that A, B, C, D, and E and we'll go get it. And what I mean by that is doctors, private doctors, you can, if you use the VA, you go to the VA for those symptoms, for what it is, and you get it rated. And it's called a nexus. So what the VA looks for is a nexus or a nexus letter, which somebody will literally say, this injury or this issue is directly related to time in service.
Because that seems to be the biggest one my vets say is either hearing, sleep apnea. Those two big ones, I feel like they're rejected, and then finally all day long.
So what I tell people is this. So if you look at the screen, we got the Code of Federal Regulations.
And how we got there, in case you guys are wondering, we went to Google and we Googled 38 CFR, and then it came up a link and we clicked the link. And you guys can kind of see the link, but this is what should come up when you click that. If you're at this page, you're starting right where you need to be. And what is this page? What is this page, Dan?
Right here, the 38 CFR, Title 38 CFR is the VA's Bible to getting your disability. And I'm going to explain it to you real quick. We're going to go through it. It's not going to be hard. If you look here, the Title 38, Chapter 1, Part 4, Subpart B. 38 CFR has every single disability that the VA rates. Everyone. So up here, you could put, here you go. All right. So here's the 38 CFR, same thing, mental disorders. Let's just do mental disorders, right? Schedule rating, mental disorders. So this covers all of these ratings. So it'll be schizophrenia all the way down. Your PTSD is in here, panic disorders, unspecified anxiety disorder. Everything's right in here. So this code right here is just the code that's listed in how they'll rate you. So if you got bipolar, you'll be coded 9432, right? General, so this is where you want to look at the general rating formula for mental disorders. It'll say general rating formula for musculoskeletal. We'll jump to that one here in a second. Right down here tells you what the ratings are. So for 100%, this is what you need. This is what your medical record has to tell you. It's all right here.
So here's my question. I just talked to a vet recently. I think I was telling you this story where he said, I don't want to be embarrassed, but now I ran nuclear's talking. I'm having a lot of flashbacks. I guess he did stuff with nuclear. And he said he's waking up cold sweats. He woke up under the bed, thinking Iran was shooting. So something like that, he can look at this and have an idea where he's at.
Yes, he can look at it and see where he's at. And here's the key. You look at it, and I'm going to tell all the vets here. A lot of them are embarrassed. A lot of them are, I'm a veteran. I don't want to talk about my stuff. A lot of them, we go to the doctor, and they're like, how you feeling? Oh, I'm okay. You have to tell them the worst day of your life. You have to tell them, not today, I'm doing okay today. It's the worst day. You go to your doctor, you want this in there. Hey, doc, you know what? When I was serving overseas, there was a lot of trauma. I have flashbacks. I have nightmares. I have this. I have that. Worst day of your life. The worst day that this is. You got to tell them all that.
So much like the guy that I talked to, if he's doing this, he's not going to say, yeah, most of my days are good. Everything's good. He's going to say, last night, I literally woke up. I was on the floor under my bed, almost crying, mentally in sweats, thinking I ran. I went to bed watching Facebook, and it's never happened before, but it happened. So that's what he wants to say now. It was 1 in a million.
I would leave out, it's never happened before. What I would say is this. I served here. I did this here. I've had nightmares because of that, cold sweats, whatever. I deal with it every day and whatever. And vets, if you're going to PTSD mental health, Google what PTSD symptoms are. Google it. So you know the verbiage and you know the terminology. You have to know that stuff to know what to say. It's not lying because we just don't know. I mean, we're not medical professionals.
Well, and that's why I try to mention it, because I'm not a veteran. So he's telling me that like it was kind of just a one incident. And I'm sitting here as a civilian who wasn't brave enough to serve going, I couldn't imagine that. I mean, that one day for him was like, oh, that's just the norm. For me, I was like, dude, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
So look up what they are. This is what the VA requires to be rated at 100% for mental health. But also look up what the symptoms are, because you may have symptoms that you don't even know are pertaining to PTSD. A lot of people have anxiety. They don't even know what anxiety is, and they don't know where it comes from. They don't know what happened in service that's making your mental health now, and that's how you connect. Things now might not be always about service, but it triggers something. But why? What happened in service? Were you attacked? Were you this? Were you that? Were you in training and you saw your buddy die and once in a while have a nightmare and think about it? Were you in a car accident where somebody got mangled? And another thing is, what people don't understand is it doesn't have to be when you're in service and you have something outside, you're out in town, whatever, you get in a car accident, get hurt, it's still considered in service. You're under the contract of the military. My advice is this. Okay, let's look it up. What's PTSD, right? So here you go. Experiencing the trauma, nightmare, flashback, avoiding reminders, nightmare reactivity, starts response, anger. You start looking at it and go, whoa, okay, I'm at home and somebody makes a loud noise. I turn around and I freak out and I don't know why. I can't explain it. Here you go. Startle response, anger, negative changes in mood or thinking. One day you're fine. The next day you don't know why, but you're just down in the dumps. You're depressed, all that stuff. You look this stuff up, right? Unwanted distressing memories, flashbacks, relevant to the event, nightmare. It's all avoidance, trying to avoid thinking or talking about it. So what people don't understand is that, right? Avoidance. Maybe you don't watch war movies. Maybe you don't want to talk about your time in service. That's all considered avoidance. Avoidance isn't just, I'm not going to go to that area or whatever. It's changing your behavior not to think about something that's going to trigger something. So avoiding places, activities, people that remind you of the trauma. This could be a vet. This could be going, you're not going to go to your VFW today because you're not feeling good. It could be anything. You're really into guns. You used to go to the gun range. Now you don't go. Like, you're not doing things that you used to do because of the way you think. And then the way you think is because of what happened to you in service. So this is when I say it's kind of a job. These are the type of things you need to look for and realize, oh shit, I got this. And you got to tell your doctor, and unfortunately, you got to you don't have to walk in and go, I have recurring unwanted distressing memories. But you got to tell them your story of what this is. Flashbacks, everybody knows. Nightmares, everybody knows those words, right? Negative thoughts about yourself, others, or the world.
And I know hearing, you and I've talked about hearing, because you're like, Eric, I'm fine when I'm at the rink sometimes, and sometimes my ears are going nuts. Like, it's all over the place.
Yeah, and the thing is, so tinnitus, and here's the thing for the vets to know. The VA is trying to give tinnitus 0%. Tinnitus is right now rated at 10%. You got to get rated before they change it. Once you're rated, they can't take it away from you. Meaning, if it's at 10% now, they can't, and they rate it at 0, you're grandfathered in, you're at 10%. Tinnitus, it's a ghost. They cannot test for it. They don't know about it. They ask you questions about it. There's nothing you can do about it. It's tinnitus. But there's a list of MOSs, military occupational skills, that are presumptive. If you worked on a flight line, if you worked in artillery, if you were in the infantry, if you're a radio operator, if you worked at anything that has loud noises and that kind of nature, tinnitus it's almost a presumptive. You still got to go in to get to the hearing test, but you tell them, this is what I did. My veterans also are going to know this. A lot of things are not in your record book. Where you were deployed to might not be in your record book. What you did, it may not be in your record book. Your MOS is a generic MOS, so things you did may not be in your record. I was a field radio operator. Great, field radio operator, but you could be anywhere. You could be assigned to any unit. It doesn't say in there in my records that I was assigned an infantry unit, and then I was a forward air controller, so I was on the helicopters calling in field for fire, working under fixed wings and dropping bombs. Oh, this is field radio operator. So when you go in, you must tell them what you did, where you were at. There was a few countries where I was overseas that aren't in my records. Why? Well, because my unit went, and it says we went, but it doesn't say we went A, B, C, D, and E. It just says we went on a deployment. Once you say, well, yeah, but when I was on the deployment, I went to Greece, or I went to Italy, or I went to Southeast Asia, or I went here, there's presumptives that are part of those countries that your record doesn't have you at, because it's just you're assigned to this unit, you went here, and the unit's traveling, doing things. So these are the things that you need to get into the record book. Another side note, quick thing, when you're at the VA talking to your doctor and you have a medical issue, make sure that the doctor has that on your issue list. You might be getting treated for high blood pressure and getting blood pressure meds, but it's not on your issue list. You might have another issue. Oh, you might have high cholesterol. Doctors give you money, meds for it, but it's not on your VA problem list. You might have arthritis, but it's not on your VA problem list. You could be treated for it. So you could look up what's on your problem list right on your VA blue button. It'll literally show you. And if the vets don't know what that is, you can go to va.gov, you go to your app, go to your medical on the bottom, go to medical, and you can download your blue button. It's called a blue button. Download that. That is your complete VA medical file. All your appointments, all your blood work, everything's in there. It literally is your medical, all your medications, everything's in there. And on top, it'll say what your problem list is. First couple pages, problem list. Make sure it's all in there, because the VA looks at that when you file. It might not look for the medicine, but it'll look for the problem list. So have your doctor put in.
So that sounds like a big one that almost all my guys should do. Like, if they're watching this and they get anything, first thing you should do is go in there and update it.
Well, here's the crazy part. I'm going to tell you this. I just talked to the VA yesterday. I had an appointment, and the doctor told me, it's a specialist. He goes, I can't do this because it's not on your problem list. Although I see the medicine you're getting, and I can see what's happening to you, I need that into the problem list to put you into this program. So I go, can you do it? He goes, no, your primary care at the VA has to do it. I go, okay. Luckily, I got an appointment next week with my primary care, and I went over my problem list. I'm like, holy shit, my high blood pressure ain't there, my cholesterol ain't there, my arthritis isn't there, and this isn't there. So if the VA wants to put you into certain programs, medical programs or help or whatever, they have certain criteria for you to get into it. But if it's not in the problem list, they can't put you in. So make sure it's in the problem list, but it also helps with your disability.
Is that, and I don't know, is it called a problem list? I mean, I don't want all your medical things.
I believe that's the technical term for it.
Yeah, I just didn't know. I just want, if guys are looking at it later, I can even ask you about it, because I just want to learn more and more to help my guys.
This isn't mine. So here's a problem list.
I'll research and do
Here
another.
you go. Common types of conditions found include mental health, musculoskeletal, neuro, respiratory. On like page 2 or 3 of the blue button, it'll say problem list. And here's all your medical problems.
Gotcha.
Right?
I'll write an article on that, AKA you will.
You got it. Anything I can do to help. So you want to get any of your issues on the problem list. You want to go to your doctors and tell them anything, any issues. So let's do.
Because I just talked to a guy earlier this week, and he was a paratrooper. And we were talking, and he's like, Eric, my knees and ankles. I'm like, do you have a disability? He's like, no, I don't know if it's worth it. I'm like,
so I'm going to tell you something for all my jumpers. Hi, Becca. I'm going to tell you something real quick. All right, so here's the 38 CFR for musculoskeletal. If you are a jumper, as I stated earlier, everything's connected to everything. So your ankle issues, your shin issues, your knee issues, your back issues, shoulder, whatever, it's all connected. Yeah, it's definitely worth it. Jumpers actually have presumptives. So if you have that MOS, you have there's presumptives, right? So
what does a presumptive mean again? I'm sorry.
A presumptive is the VA says that you are presumed to have that disability, right? So you still got to file the forms and stuff, but they presume that it is more likely than not, which is another term you have to have. A presumptive is the VA is basically saying, hey, if you were here on this date or did this, you are presumed to have the disability, so we don't have to put you through the EMP and all that kind of stuff, the comp and pen.
So kind of like if I was near a big millimeter gun and I'm filing for a hearing, they're going to say, okay, you're presumed to have hearing issues because you were near whatever, a big.
So they'll presume, well, you still got to go in and they'll presume the tinnitus. As long as you can tell them about tinnitus, they'll still give you a hearing test. And again, on the hearing test, people, it's what you know 100%. If you got ringing in your ear and you think you hear something, don't hit the plunger. If you hear it and you know that's what it is, then you hit the plunger because they have different levels of hearing loss, things of that nature. Again, here's the 38 CFR. I went to the musculoskeletal portion.
Yep.
It's a lot easier to show. So let me get to it. All right, here you go. Bones of the hand. 38 CFR literally tells you everything you need to know and your rating. So up here, 10% without metacarpal resection.
Or they will probably know if they have
knee issues, wrist. Here's the spine, and it tells you everything. Here's the cervix spine, right? And what these pictures are, right, it literally is telling you the degrees. So for 40%, forward flexation of the thoracolumbar spine, 30 degrees or less, or favorable ankylosis of the entire thoracic spine, 30 degrees or less. You come down here, 30 degrees or less, 30 degrees or less. So if you're standing straight up and you cannot move 30 degrees left or right, the 38 CFR says that you will get 40%. My veterans out there, don't go in and try to show that you could go 35 degrees. Don't suck up the pain and go 35 degrees. Don't be like, I'm a vet, I could do this, and put yourself in pain. They don't give you extra credit for putting yourself through pain. They give you a 0 or a non-rate. That's why I tell people, this is the book that they use. They tell you right in here what you need and what the percentage is. Right, this is everything that's out there. When you research what your issue is, you know what to tell the doctor, and the doctor will put it in there. And what I'm trying to tell you also, don't give up. I have a neurologist at the VA that works for the VA that used to be a rater at the VA, or a CMP examiner. In my medical record, she literally wrote, he is service connected. This is why. A, B, C, D, and E. It goes back to his service here. This is what happened. Blah. Denied. Refiled. She copied the 38 CFR.
When you refiled, Dan, like when you went through that, right? And you're like, wait, how do you denied me? I already had this. Do you have to look up and just change words? Do you have to change, how did you get stuff approved?
So this is what like I said, your denial letter will tell you what you need. It literally explains why you were denied. Now you have a year to do what's called a supplemental claim. So you got a year to get that evidence to put it in. So I would look at why I'm denied and be like, but that's in my medical record, but let me get more evidence. Let me go back to my doctor. I would bring her, and God bless her, I would bring her my denial letters. And she'd be like, well, it's all right here. And she would rewrite it and put it in my record, I was denied 3 or 4 times, and a lot of it is verbiage of how you put it in your file. And I talked to somebody that works at rating. The main line you have to put is, your first line should be, due to my service in this branch, serving overseas on these dates, serving as this MOS, but it's always due to my service in the United States Marine Corps between this date and this date while I was serving in Southeast Asia, this country, I sustained these type of injuries, blah, blah, and then you put it in there. And then the rest, there's a specific way to write. What I tell vets is what I've learned too is a lot of VSOs, a lot of people will just write it up real quick and send it off. I literally make copies of all my medical records. I make copies of VA records, personal records, and I'll put it in there, page 4 of my VA medical record states this. This states this, and just a little quick sentence. And then I add that to my file. I once sent the VA 500 pages. Now, they'll tell you they look at it. They'll tell you they see it. They'll tell you that they reviewed it, but they don't. I'm telling you right now, they'll find one reason to deny you, and that's it. Whether it's a typo, whether it's something. So I literally had to put it all in there. If you get denied, and I was at a point where I got denied I'm like, there's nothing more I can do.
When you get denied, I hate to stop you. When you get denied, are you still within that 1-year time frame, or do you have to wait a whole nother year before you reapply?
No. You get denied. Your denial letter comes in and it'll have today's date on it. You have 12 months to reply to that denial.
From the denial.
But you get back paid from your intent to file.
But I'm saying, so if you did that first form, the intent to file April. Let's say you filed, and let's say in July you got your denial letter.
Correct.
It's another 12 months from the date of the denial letter.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just making sure I understand.
Yeah. So you get another 12 months from the denial letter. However, understand you have to do what's called a supplemental claim. You don't redo another intent to file. You don't let it lapse. You don't file it on a original form. There is a supplemental claim form that you must fill out. So now you do a supplemental claim. That form goes in. If it comes back rated, fantastic. If it comes back denied, you have another 12 months that denial date to do another supplemental claim or do an appeal. Now, here's the thing. Appeals are lasting between 5 to 8 years right now. Go get more evidence, refile the supplemental claim. If you're at a point where you're like, look, my records, my doctor took the 38 CFR that we're looking at, copied it, put it in my VA medical record. So the page for what my disability is in my record, and she mentions it and goes, here to here, here to here, here to here. This is why. I went to a CMP exam for it, which the VA has changed a lot in the last year. But I'm like, why do I even need a CMP? I have a doctor in the VA saying this is rated. They sent me to a CMP, and it's a nurse practitioner that.
What does a CMP stand for?
CMP it's called Comp and Pen, so it's short for Comp and Pen. So when you file for a disability, you'll get a letter to report to a CMP, which is Comp and Pen.
Are they at the VA then?
90% of them are, but sometimes they can send you to an outside contractor. But when you go into the CMP, there are a couple key things I'm going to tell you. It's the worst day of your life. You were told to wear a brace. You better wear the brace. They watch you from the second you get out of your car. They're always observing you in the waiting room or whatever. Bring your medical documentation with you as a copy and leave it with them. I had one where I had a doctor fill out and a DBQ is the disability questionnaire. Again, you can find it online. So here's your VA DBQ form. You can find any DBQ for any disability. Every disability has to have a DBQ. The CMP examiner is going to do the DBQ, or your personal doctor can do it. You'll see they check off Meniere's syndrome, otitis, they put the ICD code, and then you can look through here how they fill it out, medical history, not a lot of room. It's almost like the 38 CFR. Here, they check off what your issues are. Vertigo, less than once a month, 1 to 4 times a month, and they check it off. These are also things that you need to look at and you cross-reference the 38 CFR with the DBQ. And the DBQ will tell you, the 38 CFR will tell you the percentage, and you got to make sure that these are the terms you say. You know, like I got vertigo 1 to 4 times per month. As long as it's documented and you can say it, but this is the form that the VA doctors or the other doctors fill out. This is how they rate you. This is the rating form.
And is this kind of where you were saying that 30F CFR, it would tell them kind of like you did that 0 to 30%.
Right.
So you're going to know which one kind of to check.
Well, the doctor's going to check, right? Okay. So that's what I'm saying. This is the 38 CFR in a medical form. So you look at what I look at the DBQ, I look at the 38 CFR and see where I match to see what boxes they check. Because sometimes you got to know what words, what you're saying, what this is, what that is. You know, staggering. So if you have vertigo and staggering, maybe you don't tell them, well, you know, when I get vertigo, I fall down or I can't hold myself up. You just say I get really dizzy and I sit out. You got to make sure that staggering is it's a different
box. Yep.
But the rating doesn't change. You don't get ratings for like vertigo and staggering. Under vertigo, it's like 20%, but if you have staggering, it goes up to 30%. You have to be very in depth of what you're giving the medical providers so it's in your records to make sure you get what you
so here's my question, and again, I'm not a vet, so I'm trying to learn. When one of my veterans schedules to go meet with a VSO, the first time, let's say you do, is this what he's filling out for them? Like, is he like, if you go to a VSO for the first time, right, and you say, hey, I have no rating at all, I'm coming in here, I want to see about hearing or whatever, you know, we're looking at. And I met with the VSO. Normally, kind of what's their first steps? They're not filling this form out for you?
So first thing they're going to do is they're going to do an intent to file. Very first thing, because it locks in the date.
Are they better is a veteran better to have that form filled out before he goes with a VSO, or it doesn't matter?
I tell everybody fill one out immediately so you can lock your date in. If you're not comfortable doing it, you can actually call the VA hotline, the 800 number. They will do it for you over the phone. Hey, I need an intent to file, and they will type it in for you and get it taken care of. The VSO will sit down with you and go, all right, what do you think you have? What do you want to file for? And you tell them, and then they'll be like, okay, do you have medical documentation? Where is it? Yada, yada. Did you bring any in? Okay. And then they'll fill out. If it's your first file, we'll probably have you do this with them. It's an easy form, it's called, just like taxes.
If it's their first time going to meet with a VSO, like what's a little head start that's going to help?
Well, if you're going to go to a VSO, this is what I'm going to tell you to do. Make sure you have your medical forms, dates, and conditions. Know what you want to file for. Look it up. Make sure you have your conditions. If you're going to use a VSO, they're going to tell you the same thing. Go have the intent to file done, and then get everything we've been talking about. Get all your medical record, your conditions, and all that. Make sure you like the VSO. Make sure that you trust them. I've had some good ones. I've had some bad ones. I have some guys that never get back to you when you call them. I have guys that literally will fill this form out. So this is your form and here's the conditions you want to put in.
So what form is this? Is that
So this is the initial application for disability compensation. This is the first form you'll fill. After intent to file, this is the form you're going to fill out telling the VA what you believe your disabilities are. And then after this, unless you do a new claim for a disability you don't have on here, you're going to be doing supplemental claims.
Gotcha. So in steps for you recommend, step 1, before you even go to a VSO, is probably call the 800 hotline and file your intent to file. Step
Correct.
2, go on to Google search, I guess, VA form 21-526EZ and kind of fill this out. Where did I forgot, what was that? Was that the 38 that had the list of everyone's ratings in that?
Yeah, the 38 CFR.
The 38 CFR. So then they should go here, look for everything they think they have and try to get a good idea.
Correct.
So then when they meet with the VSO, they can say, hey, here's my form 21-526EZ. I filled it out for you. I filed my intent April 1st, and I did pull up my ratings or whatever, or they at least know what they're going to be kind of looking for. So they're on track.
Correct. That's if you use VSO, because you can do this yourself. If you do all those steps, you can file this by yourself and not use a VSO.
Do you think it's better to first time file by yourself, or because the VSOs are so busy, or is it worth going?
Here's what's worth it. If you want a VSO because you're just not comfortable enough with the forms and where to send them and what to do with them, use a VSO. You could do the intent to file yourself. You could call it in. You can go to a VSO and they'll do it for you. Get your medical records together, whatever. You can look at here. Your job is to go to the doctors and stuff. If you just feel more comfortable with it, absolutely use one. I've used them. Absolutely. As long as they're a good one. Absolutely. Don't file more than 5 disabilities in one form, because once you go over 5, the VA kind of just starts denying them arbitrarily. They won't tell you that, but some people will file 7, 10, 12. File one, and then a month later, file the next one. You can put 5 on here, file the next one.
If you go to your VSO and let's say you're unhappy with him, do you just call like a different location, or how do you talk to a different one?
You could go to any VSO you want. Let's say you're with the DAV. You're just not happy. They're not working with you. You can go to the VFW. Let's say you're part of the VFW and they have a VSO there. You can go over there and say, hey, I'm with the DAV. I want to use you now. They will fill out a form, send it to the VA, and they'll switch VSOs. You can drop your VSO off your record, because at the end of the day, they get all the letters, they get everything about you. And these NGOs, they get government assistance to help run it. So if you get rated higher or things go up, they get some money, not from you. Find an independent. Attorneys, they'll charge you. The big problem I have is you'll see a lot of these companies online that'll go, hey, we're not VSOs, but we'll help you get through this. We'll help you do this. And we take 60% of your back pay, or what? Astronomical numbers, right? Basically what they're doing is telling you what I'm doing, but then they'll have a medical company that you have to pay, and that's one that they're not telling people, but you have to pay for a medical exam, a virtual visit. They'll review, they'll do your Nexus, they'll do this, they'll do that. You're $3,000, $4,000 down the tube paying all this. Now you're losing your back pay, because if you win, we only get paid if you win. You lose your back pay, but they're making you do everything. They even tell you, hey, fill this form out. This is how you send it in. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. The government's actually trying to go after them because they're taking vets' money. That's why find a VSO or find a certified agent.
So is there only, it seems like there's only so many forms. Like I guess I'm listening, but I'm like.
There aren't a lot.
I was going to say, it's like, okay, you file your intent. You file your form 526EZ. You go to the 38 CFR, you see what your disabilities. Oh, I have hearing. I'm reading all this. Yep, I got that. Right. I go to my VA doctor and say, hey, I need you to document in my medical file, I have hearing issues in there. You go to your civilian doctor, get copies of your records, and then you submit them. Am I missing something?
No.
Then what is it? I guess the difference is those companies, are they just basically saying, we're going to do what Eric just said, except instead of you going to your VA doctor, we're going to use our own doctor to kind of review your hearing a little bit, or no?
It's even worse than that. Those companies are saying, hey, give us your money and we'll teach you how to fill this out yourself. And then we'll send you to our doctor that you have to pay for out of pocket. And they'll get you a Nexus letter, and they'll get you this, and they'll get you that. And then they send everything to you, and then you submit it. And then once the rating comes in, you have to pay them. You have a contract with them that you have to pay them.
Yeah, see, every time I hear people that get denied and keep reapplying, I always think in my mind, because I'm not a veteran, like, man, there must just be a boatload of paperwork. But it seems like if you're denied, you do the supplemental form that and then you resubmit it with some new findings, I guess, new evidence, or reword a letter. Hey, okay, I have hearing and I lose my balance. I forgot to mention I lose my balance. Resubmit it, starts another 12 months. I mean, unless I'm missing something, it feels like, hopefully this video will help a little bit, and we just kind of help these guys.
The issue is, and this is what I'm going to tell, The issue is that people get very discouraged by the VA. It's understandable. I've been there. You cannot stop. If you have the issue, you cannot stop. You have to keep fighting for it. It will come. It will. It took me almost 10 years to get fully rated. It will come.
What rating did you start at?
Here, I was one of the guys that's like, give it to the guys that are losing their limbs. Give it to this. Give it to that. I'm not doing this. This is dumb. I went in for a hearing test. The girl that was doing it is like, hey, what was your job in the Marine Corps? I was a radio operator. I was around airplanes a lot. I was dropping, calling for fire, this. I was attached to 81 mortars. So I was next to the mortars. Although I'm a radio operator, I was with the mortar unit for 6 months, right there, holding base plates and tubes and learning their shit and doing all this stuff. And she goes, you got ringing in your ears? I go, every day. I can't even sleep at night sometimes, every day. She goes, oh, you have tinnitus. And she put it in. And next thing I know, I get a letter from the VA say, hey, you were just rated for 10%. I was like, what? Like, it just happened. And then that's when I started looking at this and talking to other people. I'm like, wait a second. Like, I got back issues. I got this. I had a really cool job. I was riding motorcycles in the Marine Corps. I was driving, they were Kawasaki 650 Enduros. They were diesel. They converted them to a diesel powered bike. Man, the class alone, you're crashing. You're doing all these issues. You're carrying your pack. You're going through the desert. You're doing all this stuff on a motorcycle. I started having back issues. Well, I got degenerative disc disease. I got herniated discs. I got all this kind of stuff. But that's also from humping and this and all this other stuff. But I never went to medical for it. I was just like, I'm a young kid. I'm not going to medical. My back hurts, whatever. You got to get all that into your record. Even if you don't have it from the military, you can go back and you can document. And if you can document and prove that it happened there,
so kind of how did you do that? If it's not in your medical record, like you said, because a lot of these guys I talked to are like, it's not a big deal. I didn't put it in my medical record. So what did you do if it wasn't in your record?
Right.
Kind of how did you get it in your record?
So that's what's called a nexus, right? So either your private doctor or your personal doctor or your VA doctor, when you sit down and tell them, hey, this is when it started. This is how it happened. I didn't put it into my file. However, since I was in service, I was jumping out of airplanes. I twisted my ankle a couple of times. I did this, but I never went to the doctors. I iced, I did whatever. And ever since then, it's been weak. It's been this, it's been that. Can you correlate it? Can you nexus it to the military for me? I haven't had any other trauma since then, but I still have all these ankle issues.
That's what the nexus you keep saying letter is.
Right. So a nexus letter is a doctor saying, this issue is directly related to his time in service because of this. So they nexus the two.
So that's the letter really that when there's no medical file, they can't find anything. Dan was too cool to say I'm beating the shit out of myself on a motorcycle because it's just pain in my back. Now it's affecting me. I'm older. That's the nexus letter that you go to the doctor and say, listen, this is what I used to do. It's probably why it's causing. They figured out and go, you know what? You're right, Dan. That is what caused it. They do a nexus letter and you add that and now it's in the file.
Now it's in the file.
Gotcha.
Now the VA can rate you on it.
And then where do you put the nexus letter when you get it? Like in your blue button in your file or no?
Well, so it should be, if it's a VA doctor, then it'll be in there. When you file your intent to file, there's an actual form. It's another form that you can fill out to say this is attached.
Did you find getting VA doctors to make more comments helped you out better versus civilian doctors doing a nexus, or it doesn't matter as long as it's a doctor? Do they lean one way?
I thought they would, but when my neurologist is putting in my VA medical record, this is service connected and this is why, that's a nexus. You don't have to have a letter. It's a nexus. Still denied it. They denied it until they denied that claim 5 or 6 times. Finally, I'm like, I don't have any more. I can't do a supplemental because there's no more evidence I can get. And that's where the appeal process comes in. There's 2 appeal processes. There's something called a higher level review, and then there's the appeal. The higher level review can either sustain, send back, or rate, right? So I've done 4 higher level reviews. I've won all 4 of them. A lot of people get them denied. But again, the higher level review, when you do it, you always want to ask for, it's called an informal conference. They'll set up a time. They'll call you. I had all my shit printed out, everything. And I sat down and I made notes. And when I'm talking to the lady, I go, hey, look, you're a rater. Yeah. Okay. I understand what's going on. Do you have my file open? I do have. Yes, I have your file open. Great. We're going to start on page 4. This is from my VA medical record. If you look down halfway to the page, like 3 paragraphs, do you see this sentence? Yes, I do. Okay. It says that I am service connected, this and this and this. However, my denial says that there's no nexus. Here is the You literally got to walk them through it, and you got to be prepared for it. She sent it back down to the VA, and they got terminology. So she sent it back. They sent me to a different CMP, and as soon as I walked in the door, and I brought all my paperwork with me, and I learned that, bring it with you, copy form to leave for them. I walked in with my paperwork, sat down. This doctor looked at me. She goes, what is all that? I go, this is all my paperwork. Here's all my documentations. The VA is supposed to send this stuff over to you, but I'm not sure if they do. And I highlight everything and I make a little legend for them. And we sat down. She looked at all of it. She read 4 pages and goes, oh, yeah, you're rated. I don't even have to look at it. It's all right in here for me. That was it. I got my rating. You got to prepare yourself. Keep all your medical records. Get it documented into your files, whether it's personal or not. Your personal doctor, those DBQs, they can do those for you. If they're willing to do it for you, they can fill it out and do it for you and hand it to you, and you could submit with a DBQ. The VA says if there's a DBQ signed by a medical professional, DBQ has to, the most favorable one. So if the VA did one that says no, this one says yeah, the VA law says that the most favorable one wins. It doesn't always. You got to do higher level reviews. You got to fight it. I had to go to an outside doctor. He did that the VA paid for and sent me to. It's called community care. Yep. You know it. So if the VA can't see you within 30 days, they have to give you community care. Contracted with civilian doctors. They send you out there. They pay for everything, and it's all taken care of. So I went to community care. He did a DBQ for me. They still sent me for a CMP. I still brought all my medical records because the nurse practitioner is like, well, I don't know how this, she's holding the form. I don't know how this works and blah, blah, blah. I go, here are all my medical records. This is how, and she's like, oh, okay. Now I see how he did it. You have to be your own advocate. You have to pretend that these people are not going to look at all your forms. You have to bring your stuff in and you have to fight for yourself. And you got to fight for yourself that it's the worst day of your life of that disability. Here's another one that people don't understand. Secondary conditions. God bless people. Secondary conditions. If a disability that you are rated for causes an issue with something else, it's called a secondary condition. And you could get rated for that. I have a friend that I helped get this. He's got PTSD, on a bunch of PTSD medication. Helps him the best. Causes massive constipation. So he's got to come off the meds for a couple days just to use the bathroom. And then he's rotating between, hard stool, constipation, diarrhea, and he gets back on the meds. And it's a vicious cycle. And he's like, I cannot get off these meds because I've been on so many. These are the only meds that really work for me. So he's rated at PTSD. He's on the medication for PTSD. It causes constipation. And if you look at the 38 CFR, constipation with recurring hard and soft stool, diarrhea, whatever, 30%. Because the medication for the PTSD is causing this. He got 30%, which threw him over 100. That's how he got his 100%.
But when you do that, do you then apply for a whole nother? That's another form, right? Or is it a supplemental form?
It's a new claim of a secondary condition. Secondary conditions can only be if you have a primary condition.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then we should do another, I could talk all day about this stuff, guys. VA math is not VA math is not math. Understand that if you have a 50% disability and a 50% disability, it's not 100% disability. People get confused. It's mind blowing. I get it. 10% disability and a 10% disability is not 20%, it's 19. Although you will get 20% because if you're at a 95 and higher, you get to the higher one, and lower is the lower one. I can go over the whole VA math that people don't understand. There's a chart. It's ridiculous, but the way I tell people is this: take a pie, a pizza, and if the pizza's divvied up into 50% or 100 pieces, you get 50%. You take 50 pieces out, you got 50 pieces left, right? No, the VA closes it and makes it another pie and cuts it up into 100 pieces. Every disability you get, you'll hear people say, oh, I got 250. Well, you're only at 100 because you probably got 10s, 20s, and 30s, but every one closes the pie. That's how you do it. And that's another, if you got any clients or any of your people that are very confused about the math, I can explain it to them. I can show them the chart. It's hard to explain, but they can understand.
Dan, trust me, I learned a ton. So if I learn a ton, that means my vets are going to learn a ton.
Hopefully.
Just because I talk to a lot of them and they're just as confused, so they don't even care.
I'm not certified right now. I'm getting licensed to come work for you and with you on the insurance side, but I've also filed my form with the VA to get licensed as an accredited agent. So when that comes in, we can do whatever.
And I'm going to have you, once you get approved, and just so everyone watching, I'm going to put Dan, once he is accredited in that, he's going to be on my Facebook page. He's going to be on my website, and there's just going to be a link directly to Dan. So I'll be out of the loop, but It's just someone that I trust a ton. I know as you guys are listening to this, I hope all this has helped. I know that about an hour, sometimes people get lost, but you know what? I'd rather post this that you can watch it over and over and over and over again. I'm going to go back with Dan and I wrote some notes. I'll watch the video. So then in the description below, there'll be if you're talking about the blue button is at 31 minutes and 45 seconds. So I'm going to put some things to help. But Dan, dude, I appreciate our friendship. Look forward to working with you for years because this is just good stuff. And I love helping vets, man. And just like you, every time we talk, there's just so many guys out there that are confused, lost, give up. You're retiring and you're like, really? Well, that was, I was in the military 40 years ago. Doesn't matter. Don't give up. To me, you served our country. You deserve it.
Don't give up. And again, we could do a lot more of these about what you can get when you're rated and getting rated. And guys, look at the big picture. There's a lot of help. You can get. There's a lot of good stuff that you
short
deserve.
videos too. Like we can do some.
I'm sorry. I can talk about this all day. I'm very passionate.
Dude, brother, you have a great weekend. Thanks, Dan.
You too.